Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel and clicking on my face. It hurt a little bit at first. I was like, somebody just clicked on my face. But you're here. That's all that matters. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this is my review of The Swimmers. This one was on Netflix. It has English audio description, so do not worry. This is a film that I believe Netflix picked up out of Sundance. I think I'm right in saying that. I believe this is a Sundance pickup for Netflix. This is something they acquired and did not make. It's a very interesting film. It's a very interesting choice for them. And I think they picked it up thinking perhaps they could get this in the Oscar race. I don't see them pushing it. I haven't seen it really listed anywhere as people thinking it has a legitimate shot at Oscar glory. It's interesting that they're still releasing it at this time of year, just in case. They're like, well, let's just see what happens. You never know, right? You never know. It's true. You do never know. But this is a very difficult film for me to review because it's based on a true story, and the story told is very it's a rough story. The story is based on these two girls who live in Syria and swim. They love to swim, but it's like war-torn Syria, and they're worried about their lives. Lots of terrible things just kind of happen to them in their own country, and they're trying to get out. And they have some other friends that have gotten out in other ways, and they're trying to convince their family that if they can get out and become refugees somewhere else, that they can turn around and get their parents plane tickets. That they're young enough that they're able to survive the hardships of getting out, but their parents are not necessarily the same. So they really want to leave Syria. There's a scene sort of in the bus where one of the girls gets sexually harassed but is oddly saved by war, which I thought was just sort of an interesting like thanks, war. thanks for stopping me from being oddly sexually harassed / assaulted in front of everybody. I'm glad war happened. It's but that's the kind of life they live. That's where they are in this life. So these two girls eventually end up getting out after we have immersed ourselves enough in Syrian culture. And this whole part of the film is basically in a foreign language. And Syrian or whatever. I'm sorry. I don't know why I said foreign language. It's in a foreign language. It's in their language. But once they get out, they start speaking more English later on in the film. So it's not, it kind of appears to be a foreign language entry at the beginning, because they're speaking, the film starts with them in Syria. So obviously they're walking around as Syrians in Syria. So they're speaking their language in their country. It makes sense. Then they get out and we go through the whole story of them being Syrian refugees and all the stuff they have to deal with. There's some really just harrowing sequences here, but you also learn why the film is called The Swimmers and why the film is so much entrenched about the power of swimming and how good these girls are at swimming. And one girl in particular ends up, this is sort of like the basketball movie that Disney released earlier this year, Rise, where Giannis Antetokounmpo ended up making it into the NBA and then so did the rest of his family. It's kind of like he was the first one, and then everybody followed. So, yeah, so like one girl's, I guess, like a slightly better swimmer than the other, but there's a boat sequence where they're in a boat, and it's like a storm, and the waves are overtaking their boat, and they've got kids, and they're trying to get to like within Greece waters, so the Greece will rescue them, and Greece is like, "You're not in our waters," and they're like, "We have kids on the boat." And the girls get out and they're swimming. They're swimming like out in the Mediterranean Ocean. They're it's incredible. There are moments in this film that are incredible, but the film itself also is it's a lot. It's very. It feels like it doesn't know where it wants to go or what it wants to be. I don't know what the structure here was to tell the story organically. Just sort of like as someone's life happens, you just start at a point and you just keep kind of going forward. It felt like the point by the time we actually got to the Olympics, that felt like such a small part of the film, and a whole lot of it was front loaded. It really wanted you to know how terrible life in Syria was, and we spent quite a bit of time in Syria before they ever leave, and then their journey takes up quite a bit of the film. There's another attempt at a sexual assault later on in the film. They go through a lot to get to where they are, and they really want to train, they really want to swim, so then they have to try to find a coach that will train them. They want to be in the Olympics, and they know their times, they know how fast they are, and so finding a trainer is the thing. So, at least for the one that ends up in the Olympics. And eventually you get to the Olympics, but this is a 2 hour and 15-minute movie. I don't think we got there until over the 2 hour mark. So it depends on what you want this what this film to be. If you want this film to be about, sports, the athletic part of it all, it's not really about that. It's more about being a refugee than anything else, and the Olympics just kind of fall out of that. It is a little bit about hard work and determination, because her swimming is such a huge focus in the film that you can take that away as being a focus, but unfortunately it just kind of felt like it was a lot. Like it wanted to include everything. This is a everything but the kitchen sink type of movie where I don't know that everything needs to be here. I don't know that every section of the film needed the length of time that it needed. I don't think that it was necessarily appropriately paced in a way where this is how long we should have spent here, this is how long we should spend here, this is how long we should spend here. I think I would have made different choices. There are definitely some scenes I would not cut. The boat scene is by far the most effective scene, and it's a big turning point in the film for them. For many reasons, I wouldn't have changed that for anything. But the boat scene is like it's like an hour over an hour into the film. So why it took us to get that long to this scene, just I don't know. It's almost like it assumes that we don't know that life in Syria is bad, and that's why we don't know what Syrian refugees are, and we have to spend a lot of time in Syria. But it also establishes the fact that Syria is not just some weird country where people just like eat dirt or fend for their lives all the time, or I don't know, whatever some people's expectations of Syria are. I mean, they actually have like a structure in some of these cities. They just, unfortunately, were going through a period of turmoil, but they had infrastructure. there's infrastructure in Syria, and I think that is what the film wanted to establish, was that it's not this third world country that just these kids just had, they were coming out of nothing, you know. They didn't just like come up out of the swamp or something, just, you know, like from nowhere. There was an infrastructure. It's just, unfortunately, this war chased them out of their own country. So yeah, it's moving, it's captivating in parts, but it also takes too long, or it spends a lot of time on like, it's like it doesn't know that the audience has picked up on what it is it's throwing down, so it feels like it has to keep throwing it down, like it just has to keep telling you. And because of that, the pacing is so odd. The structure of the film is odd to me, and by the time we get to the end, the Olympics, it feels like an afterthought. It feels like this film that we were all supposed to be building up to, like her triumphant moment of the Olympics, just kind of feels like an afterthought. It feels like we got here and we're going to rush to the end. Because that's when the pacing changes completely, is they're like, oh, the Olympics aren't important. Run as fast as you can through the segment. And it's like the shortest chunk of the film. And I don't know that it needed to be. I think we should have had more payoff at the end. She deserved to stand on that stage. She deserved to have her moment. She deserved for us to breathe in for all of that inspiration. When you work this hard, when you go through this much, you deserve to have that ending moment. And I feel like the film kind of deflates that a little bit. So I don't think it's a perfect film, but I appreciated it a lot for what it was trying to do, what it was trying to say, the lives that it was sharing with me, and just in general, everything that the audio description ended up giving me. So that's that. The audio description, sorry, the audio description on the film is good. It's, our narrator is expected to carry a lot of weight, because they went with one voice. So the narrator not only narrates, but also does the dubbed voices when the subtitles appear. So especially throughout the first, I want to say third of the film, you're going to hear her voice a lot when they're at home speaking Syrian, and she reads for every character, doesn't matter the gender. And she also just straight reads. Some narrators try to change their voice to let you know who, like, which character they're speaking for. She just kind of straight reads the subtitles, which you can still hear like a male voice in the background if it's a male speaking. So it's not the worst thing in the world. It didn't completely overwrite the sound of the film. It's a little weird, but I've seen other people who try to kind of manipulate their voice, like even a little bit. I don't think that really happened here with Tansy Alexander. So I hate criticizing Tansy because I think she's great, but I think perhaps the film just needed somebody to come in and do voices with her. Maybe that was the solution. I don't know. But The Swimmers is not a perfect film. I kind of understand why it hasn't picked up Oscar buzz. I think some people saw it at whatever film festival Netflix picked it up out of, and they were like, yeah, this isn't going to get an Oscar nomination. But Netflix is still releasing it in this window, like, maybe it will. And I'm here like, nah, no, it's not going to, sorry. Maybe if this thing was entirely in Syrian and was like the international Oscar contender from Syria, maybe, but this can't stand out that much. So it's got some powerful moments still in it. The pacing, so I'm having a little bit of a hard time with the grade, but overall I think it's worth watching. I think it's worth understanding this story and their culture and their background. I will tell you that the film feels long because of its pacing. It's all over the place. It doesn't know how long to stay in each segment, but it does have some really heavy moments that work really well, and the acting here is good. So I'm going to go ahead and give The Swimmers a B-. There you go. That's The Swimmers. It's on Netflix. Give it a check. Especially if you like uplifting sports documentaries about immigrants overcoming adversity. Lots of adversity. Anyway, if you stayed this long through the review, go ahead and subscribe. I'm still trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. I think I'm 12 away, at least as of me recording this. So it would be nice if I could break 100 this year. I'm so close. I still have the full month of December to break 100. So tell your friends. I want to be triple digit by the end of the year. I think that'd be great. Anyway, thanks for checking me out. I also have a website, macthemovieguy.com. You go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And you can go to the adna.org. That's the adna.org. And you can look up everything else that Tansy Alexander has done, because she's a great narrator. That's it. That's what I do. I talk about audio description here because accessibility matters. Anyway, thanks for checking out my channel. I will review. If I can speak ever again, I will review something else for you guys. And I will see you on the other side.